Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your overly caffeinated host, Tony Cañas. Even though I did get good sleep last night, I am tired today. Uh, and today I have with me Joel Gendelman, CEO and founder at n2itive, and that is spelled N, the number two, uitive. The In the show notes, you have the website and Joel's LinkedIn. Joel, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Oh, terrific. Thanks for having me, Tony. And yes, I'm in Seattle, so I am also overly caffeinated.
uh, I normally break the ice over the weather. We are recording on May 22nd, 2025,
Yes.
and May in Seattle. I'm guessing it's nice. I'm guessing that it's spring going into summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh Maybe even a little sunshine in
Little
the
sunshine today, so four seasons in one day. I have to look out on the lake in the heart of Seattle, so I see some clouds, some sun, and some water, so it's a good day.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right. It's sunny and beautiful here in Atlanta, Georgia. I have this episode and I think one more episode, and then I'll go roller skate.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
Joel, we always give the guest the chance to give the elevator pitch. What
Yes.
is intuitive?
Yes. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate being here. 30 seconds on myself because I've been in insurtech for 30 years. It's my fourth or fifth company I've founded, co-founded, or started in the market. Had a .com called Claims Desk way back in the day. So I've seen the sort of the insurtech grow from almost non-existent to what it is today, which is just awesome to be a part of. And n2itive is really an outgrowth of what I've done for my whole career around a specific workflow and piece of data in the claims process called a recorded statement. So that's essentially the conversation adjusters are having with the parties to the claim right after or very nearly after the claim. And it's really the story of the claim from the horse's mouths, etc. So I built the largest firm that transcribed that we sold that 5 or 6 years ago. So I've been around that workflow and this content and adjusters and claims leadership for my entire career. So n2itive is really kind of it's essentially the system. So think about this as a CRM for recorded statements. We work with 35 plus carriers, three of the top 10 carriers. So we essentially allow the adjuster to reliably and easily record these conversations. Then we store them, we make those accessible, we help them get them transcribed. So it's really a CRM system around those conversations, and we work with a lot of great carriers and many thousands of adjusters daily who do that. What I guess the pitch here is that that's all getting essentially transformed, not shockingly, by AI. But this is really something we've envisioned for a decade or more, which is really unlocking the content of these conversations versus just the workflow of the conversations. And we've launched some new features in the last few weeks. They're really allowing these conversations to be much more valuable and useful in the process, and making the adjusters more efficient by not having to type notes or to transcripts. And now all of a sudden, these conversations, which are really sort of the platinum level data in claims, are usable and extremely valuable. And in my humble opinion, this data is like the most untapped. I mean, claims is, and there's a lot of great, kind of partners and vendors. This is sort of the last bastion, we think, of the most untapped, most valuable data, the actual conversation about the claim and the story from all the participants' mouth, which, heretofore, 95% of those have been completely in dark matter. So only 5% are ever listened to or read. The other 95% are, sort of the sleeping giant, and we're helping carriers awaken that giant.
Fantastic. And helping carriers. I'm taking notes furiously.
Yep.
Awake that giant. All right. You got your pitch down, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. So I always try to relate it at the beginning to my own experience. And
Yeah.
I had a limited 2 year run in claims. Thank God. Um, Claims is the product.
Yes.
And it is shameful the way that this industry treats claims adjusters. But I won't
Yes.
I won't draw you into a conversation that would be bad for your business.
That's
Uh,
I'll have to tread lightly there. Yeah.
exactly. So let's not go into that one. So I had 2 years of claims. One
Yes.
wonderful year at the Express Claims call center
Oh,
at Farm Bureau of Iowa. They had just
sure.
transitioned from FNOL to Express Claims.
Yes.
That was a wonderful year. Even though it was a call center, it was a wonderful year. We took the claim, and if it was clear
Liability.
clear liability, no
Yep.
injury, not a total loss,
Yes.
we would keep it and work it ourselves, mostly deer hits and parking lots, and we would
Yes.
get to be the hero. And if it was complicated, we took
Yes.
it to the next level. So we never got to be
Yes.
the bad guy. Okay.
Yes.
Then I went to Nationwide, where I was MedPay PIP in
Yes.
a really messy
Yeah.
department
Yes.
where 15 different people were assigned to a claim and nobody knew who owned it, and the client didn't know who owned it, which was the worst part. I
Yes.
think they've improved it since then.
They
But
have. They
that
have.
that that second time, I did have to interact with recorded statements. Uh, and my impression at the time, and this was a long time ago, back in 2009, 2010,
Yes.
I believe. Back at that time, basically, we would record the recorded statement and make the decision, and that's it, right?
Yes.
Probably like never, like you said, 95% don't ever get
Correct.
listened to again.
Yes.
And Yeah, it gets transcribed and put into the file and move on with your
Yes.
life, right? Okay.
Yes.
But you've got a very good point. Uh, that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so do tell me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
But basically, the recorded statement is the deepest dive we have
Yes.
from the horse's mouth about what
Yes.
happened, right?
Yes. Yeah. Early on, right
Mhm.
before, other parties may get interjected into the process. Yeah, exactly. So I don't interrupt you, but yeah.
Hopefully before the attorney,
Well,
right before
yeah,
the ambulance chaser.
correct.
Uh,
Yes. Yes. And we have done, and so again, I've been around this. I think the recorded statement has been kind of beholden to the technology that's been used to accomplish it. I
mhm.
go back long enough to back when these were done on cassette tapes for people
Oh
who
yeah,
remember
I've
the
seen it.
big micro mini cassettes.
Uh-huh.
So it's not that certainly, and we work with a ton of carriers and the claims people, and so there's kind of a complete agreement that these conversations are really important to execute well. They've got a lot of information that can impact the outcome of the claim, from coverage, liability, determination, fraud, subrogation, etc. But really, they've been locked in this technology and not accessible. And I've been around predictive analytics, and I've seen sort of the things that have come. That was very hard to actually still apply against statements and audio file. AI has really changed that. So now there's really the ability to really unlock this data and this content and help the adjuster free them up from all the sort of overhead of the statement itself, and get them actually conducting the conversation investigation at high quality, and then really getting that information. You said you kind of goes in a file, or it gets transcribed. Now you can actually expose this data very quickly to the people who need to see it based on what's happened. Fraud, SIU people, or the supervisor for coaching, or liability. So we're already, we haven't yet productized yet, but we're already heading down that path where. So I think it sort of frees the adjuster up to do a great job of what they're tasked to do, and also this data up where it can really be leveraged and get to the right places for the right decisions much more quickly and
And
at scale.
this ability to use AI to do anything with a recorded
Yes.
statement, we've only had this for what, the last couple of years?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so um, I was somewhat of a skeptic. We are based in Seattle, so we're sort of a hub for AI with Microsoft and Amazon and all these. So I happen to know a lot of people. So a few years ago, really dug in around this use case and this workflow, and really could see where this was going, and feel like, listen, AI is going to. I'm not only not the only one. We're all talking about it. What I got excited about was we have an existing embedded workflow in this. So this isn't AI for AI's sake. This is really to this purpose built purpose. So when we just deployed this, and we're getting great feedback from adjusters who are like, great, I don't have to type a summary anymore, which was taking me 20 or 30 minutes, I can concentrate on the conversation. And frankly, the summaries are much more standard and complete
Of
and
course.
consistent than what an adjuster could do because they're very busy and it's like if I was typing notes here
Yeah.
versus something smart typing it after we already had the conversation.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
All right. So I think that the average listener intuitively gets the value
yes.
of bringing this into the 21st century.
Yes.
Um, so what can we do now going
Yeah. Yeah.
forward, right? Like help us
Yes.
dream. What
Yeah.
can we do now
Yes.
that we have what used to be a tape
Yes.
in a format, and we have the technology to be able to do stuff with it. What can we do with it
Yes.
now?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a great question. And I'm a dreamer, but I've been around. I think one of my superpowers is being able to dream and create the future, but also be able to help people get along this path, in a practical way. Carriers change management, but just they're also somewhat risk averse they are by
Very risk averse. I
that's kind of their business, right? So
yes.
we kind of have this maturity model: have, see, know, use, right? And so the first part of this is just to have these statements really because it's been hard to actually extract the value out of the conversations, and you actually your experience is precisely the way it's been and still largely is. Hey, I need to have the conversation. I go make my decision, and this is sort of a compliance thing I have here just in case,
Hmm.
right? And so that's still kind of the way that this is viewed because that's how technology has been able to serve it. So now you can imagine, but when we've done work with our customers, the adjusters, if you get hired at a large carrier and you go to their training university and you're new to adjusting, you get trained on how to take recorded statements. You mentioned a couple of things like, you know, deer hits and there's dog bites. So you get trained. There's all these scenarios, all these questions. You get sent into the field with these scripts and guides. You end up with one that you start jotting in the questions you need to remember, right? And so actually sometimes you're not asking the right question because
Hmm.
you don't know it. So there's just a lot of opportunity with this data now to actually do coaching of the adjuster in real time,
Okay.
not in a script or guide way, right? But in a way where you're saying, hey, we heard this in the call. We are the recording system. So if we heard this, here's a question you may want to think about, right? Or here's some information that may have come up, right? So just the getting a much more consistent, accurate, complete investigation early on is something AI is now empowering. And I've just talked to a number of our carriers, and they all have these scenarios where, gosh, had we actually asked the right question, or we had gotten the right information and that got exposed to, subrogation or bodily, or casualty or someone earlier on, it would have had a better, a more accurate outcome, right? So this is really sort of making this data accessible with the adjuster having to change any behavior. Really, they just, this will get generated, and this data is now accessible to get to the folks who can actually help them make a better determination and frankly, a better result for the customer, right? Um, Many carriers still have pretty antiquated systems they've cobbled together on their own. And so even just recording a statement and having it actually audible has been a
Hmm.
problem. So you either don't have it or you have to go back to a customer or a claimant or insured and say, gosh, you know what? I need to take your statement again.
Oh
Not a
my
great
God.
experience, frankly.
That would be the most annoying possible thing that could I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yes, yes, yeah, it totally happens. I would say, and I think in the big vision, this is really going to go, I think, from a note taker, which is where we are now, to an assistant. It can actually say, hey, here's some next steps you may need to take. Can I order a medical authorization for you? Can I order a release for you? Can I draft you an email? Can I give you some feedback on the quality of this conversation and how you can improve? All that can happen with AI, but also ultimately, I think it's going to be a thought partner. Are already doing things around liability and total loss valuation, where it can be more of like a thought partner for the adjuster in terms of are there liability issues and helping them actually do some of the higher order things and kind of elevating that adjuster to the highest value things that a human can do and an adjuster can do.
Fantastic. And that should result in freeing some time from the
Yes.
ever buried adjusters.
Totally.
Uh, in
Totally.
fact, if we did this right as an industry, it should result in being able to pay the adjusters better because they're doing higher level work.
That's right.
Um, there's many ways that this could long term be very, very, very,
Yeah, I can tell
very
you with
helpful.
what we just launched, which is called a summary assist and first draft transcript. So instead of 95% being hidden and in the dark, 100% are now visible. We summarize with a few minutes, summarize the statement for the adjuster. They can review that, get it into their file. That's saving them 20 plus minutes, and so there's just an immediate savings. And they're also getting a transcript. And many carriers are spending a fair amount of money on transcriptions. So in this case, now all of a sudden, every statement is visible from a data perspective and usable, and you've just saved the adjuster. We had, it's probably the best quote that we've gotten in my career. We launched this, and one of these adjusters that we're working with said, we're getting all this new technology, and it always seems to take us more time. This
Uh-huh.
is the first thing we've ever really gotten that actually just we didn't have to do anything, and it saved me 20 or 30 minutes.
That is amazing.
So, that's a great feeling as a partner. And then why we named the company n2itive. We don't want this to feel like a software or AI. Adjusters are super busy. We value them highly. How do we just make their lives, easier and the outcomes more consistent and accurate? Yeah.
Agreed 1,000%. So looking at the website, turn,
Yes.
turn recorded statements into claims intelligence, capturing over 1 million statements a year,
Yes.
and managing over a
Yes.
million statements a year. Already active at 40 carriers, TPAs, and self-insured trusts.
Yeah.
25 million statements already processed. 10,000 plus adjusters using n2itive every day.
Yes.
Okay, so record from any device, anywhere. That's amazing. Automatically summarize. You talked about that. Searchable transcripts, fantastic. Integration with Guidewire, huge.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
assuming that Duck Creek is coming soon.
They
Uh,
are, yeah. So we
Perfect.
started with Guidewire. We're the
Of course,
only
they're the
system
biggest.
of this kind with Guidewire. Of
Oh,
course, we've got
excellent.
the Duck Creek. What's really interesting about Guidewire, and we're getting is a lot of we've been a partner and a sponsor there. This is a hosted cloud-based system that we literally can roll out, and we have to very large carriers in a matter of a week or two. It requires no
Fantastic.
integration. So what's happened with Guidewire is people are, hey, that's great. We love the integration, but we're sort of early in our journey with Guidewire, and we've got maybe years to go. We can deploy
Mm-hmm.
this tomorrow, give our adjusters some really great tools rather than talk about, hey, Guidewire is coming in a year or two,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can kind of connect up. So this is really something because these systems that are used today for this are sort of off the grid. We're able to come in and kind of provide a end-to-end holistic system in a very simple way, right? In a matter of really days or weeks, even for large carriers.
That is ridiculously impressive.
Thank you. Yeah.
And it makes sense. Yeah, the
I've been
Guidewire.
around, I've done enough businesses in this market to have done things that weren't quite as sensical or so really this has come from a lot of experience and really the problems that we deeply understand and the jobs that the adjuster actually has to do and this data and there's AI tools, there's Microsoft, there's a ton of things you can throw at this. We've tuned this specifically for statements, insurance aware data. These summaries are generated like adjusters would with their taxonomy. So this is purpose built for recorded statements in a workflow that's specific to statements. So that's really the differentiator for us.
What what so normally I ask about integration. You already answered that
Yeah.
question.
Yes.
What is the pricing philosophy?
Yeah. So these are when we started, we've been around for getting on 20 years. We were a sort of a per statement fee, kind of on a per statement. That was kind of the classic way to do claims back in the day, right? Because they wanted to allocate specific expenses to LAE or to allocate that cost. Over time, since we built this entire platform up, which has telephony, content management, it's got a whole, we do a lot more than just record the call. We've really migrated to kind of what's the standard SaaS annual subscription. Those are typically most carriers want to do a 3-year deal. So we're trying to give budget certainty and not have this dynamic where you might have someone saying, "Hey, I don't want to take a statement because I don't want to incur a cost." So it's really, SaaS subscription fee, multi-year. We do now have a couple of packages. We sort of have our basic, which handles the whole core platform, and then we've got a pro package that's introducing these new AI features around summary and first drafts and where that's going in terms of assisting. So I would say kind of in a traditional SaaS software pricing model.
Perfect, perfect. You've spoken a lot about large carriers, which makes a ton of
Yes.
sense. But
Yes.
is it a good fit for the regionals and super regionals?
It is. So I would say our ideal customer profile is kind of in that super regional. That's probably
Okay.
the preponderance of our customer base, but we also have, a model for, kind of smaller carriers. But I would say those, the super regionals are we've had a lot of those, and most of our customers have been with us for a decade or more. So we have a great partnership there. Certainly the big guys, some of those have built their own systems, but some of those are pretty high total cost of ownership systems. I think, and I think so I think as kind of the value of AI in this application with this data sort of comes to the fore, that I think we've got some opportunity there to be really valuable. I mean, one other thing I'll just add is now that the data is just not accessible to help us help the adjuster, it's also now available. So we're building out our customer facing APIs. So we're now actually starting to see the data leadership and people at carriers come to the party with us, which they haven't been before because this was completely unstructured audio data. Now we're getting this into structured data that the carriers can actually leverage in their own data strategy, right? So we can do great stuff, but they can ingest this and get a lot of lift, around conversations that just have not been available to them. So that's really, I think that's we're starting to see that quite a bit in our as we talk to carriers and new people.
Fantastic. So normally I ask about the origin story. You already talked about that.
Yeah.
I don't have a checklist. I'm going through my mental
Yeah.
checklist.
No, I love it. I
Uh,
love it.
so we talked about pricing, we talked about implementation, we talked about the strategy, about the story of how you ended up doing this.
Yeah.
Um, this episode will likely go out late June. I think I'm running about a
Okay.
month out.
Okay. Yeah.
So June 25th or so.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
knowing that,
Yes.
uh, are there any new features on the
Yeah. So
development
I would say,
pipeline that for
yeah.
the rest of the year that we
Yeah.
can already talk about?
Yeah, I would say, and since it's still in relative, current, we just really launched. So our summary assist feature, so automated summaries for adjusters, first draft transcripts. Those are really kind of these new features we've launched. We really worked those with existing about 5 or 6 carriers for a couple of quarters. We launched those to market a couple weeks ago, so it'll be 6 weeks ago with a webinar
Congrats.
that's obviously available to us. So those are really what we're out there. We'll be we'll be at ITC, we'll be at a number of events there. So really, I think one of the things we're helping carriers do is to really just assess where they are in the maturity model, and even doing an exercise with them to say, hey, let's look at some of your current statements. Let's look at the summaries that the adjusters have typed, put together, and then let's sort of do a comparison between what we can generate. I think what we're finding is, again, it's not a fault of the adjuster. They're trying to type notes on the call, right, during an investigation. So I think once carriers are starting to see the comparison and what the depth of the summary and the fact it's saving so much time, that's really valuable. So I think that's really what we're starting to talk to people that are looking at this now in a different light. So I would say the new features, and then again we'll be out at the events that are around claims and ITC and other places. So we'd love to chat with folks that are, that this, is intriguing to them.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, thank you. This is
Thank you.
this is
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Yeah,
um
I know we've crossed paths over the years. I'm probably less recognizable than you, but I'm hopefully we'll see each other in person somewhere out on the road this year.
absolutely for sure. Thank
Yeah,
you for your time
yeah,
today.
yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.